Troy Deeney is getting cooked for pathetic Salah insult. What exactly did Mohamed Salah do to hurt Troy Deeney? The former Watford forward is making his living as a pundit for TalkSport and the BBC these days, and seemingly wastes no opportunity to tell the world what he thinks of Salah. Not very much. He just might be the last man left in Britain who thinks the Egyptian isn't world class. It was back in November when Deeney left ex-Premier League manager Alan Pardew's jaw on the floor with his declaration that Salah wasn't up to the label. "My argument has always been that I just don't think he's world class," was one line he came out with on TalkSport. But world class is just a different opinion. What I think of world class is, would I want my kids to play like that player? That's what I think is world class. And who was world class according to Deeney? Vinicius. 33 games, 17 goals, 12 assists this season. Salah 38 games, 30 goals, 21 assists. There's no comparison in their output. It's absolutely inane stuff. But he's doubling down. Salah was voted player of the match in Sunday's 2-0 Premier League win against Manchester City at the Etihad. The list of records he tumbled thanks to another goal and assist is quite extensive. But suffice to say, the 32-year-old remains on track for, perhaps, the greatest individual season a player has ever achieved in the English top flight. He is the best player in the world, and he's proving it every time he sets foot on the pitch. So who did Deeney select for the right-wing position in his BBC Sport Team of the Week? Troy Deeney, a numpty for Salah snub Brian Mbeumo, of course. "Just a cut above," he wrote. "Brentford will do well to keep hold of him. The worry for a lot of people is if Mohamed Salah moves on, he could be going to Liverpool and they could be unbelievably good. He looks like he's got another gear to go." I'm sorry. Did you just suggest that this version of Mbeumo will be an improvement on the best Salah ever? Because that's what it sounded like. Now, this isn't intended as a dig at Mbeumo, who is among the best options available for the Reds should they lose Salah. But it sounds like there's an agenda at play here, a cultivated ignorance. Not only was Salah voted player of the match by the Premier League, he was also given his place in the Team of the Week for both WhoScored and SofaScore, the latter giving him an unbeatable 8.9 rating. That was the biggest score any player managed in the league at the weekend. Suffice to say, Troy is getting cooked in the comments. I don't care who you support, long-suffering United fan myself. There is no way to not put Salah in this Team of the Week. "The man is a genius, leaving him out is just pathetic," one poster wrote. "I can't believe our license fee is paying for this," said another. "Troy, mate, you haven't picked Salah, so you are a numpty. Bossed Man City this aft, goal and can't assist," this commenter pointed out. "Can't take that team seriously without Salah in it. Your bias against him is pathetic at this stage," one more read. It goes on. "As useless as a pundit as he was as a player. When will this crusade end?" He credits Mbeumo for destroying Leicester and Jean-Philippe Mateta for grabbing an assist against Fulham. Fair play to those guys. But Man City are the defending champions, and Liverpool just completed a league double against them for the first time in around a decade, thanks largely to Salah. Does he mean to say those two had better weeks than him? Surely someone can see the flaw here. Okay, one saving grace is possible. Maybe he wrote the Team of the Week before Liverpool beat City. Not so. He's managed to take note of Ibrahima Konaté's performance. For the record, he didn't include Dominic Szoboszlai either. But we get it. Troy's made his bed and now has to lie in it. He said he doesn't think Mo Salah is world-class despite ample evidence presenting itself every single match day, and he can't back down now. When will this one-man crusade end? The Richard Hughes transfer decision, threatening to backfire on Arne Slot. It was a slightly underwhelming January transfer window for Liverpool fans. Ultimately, the club opted not to complete any incoming business, with focus instead on sorting out new contracts. Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold are all out of contract in summer 2025, and sporting director Richard Hughes's priority was to get those new deals done. That didn't come to pass, and instead, the Reds wrapped up some outgoings, including loans and permanent deals. So Arne Slot has the same players at his disposal that Jurgen Klopp had during his final season in charge, Federico Chiesa aside. It's not the biggest of squads, and a heavy load has been placed on Slot's preferred 11. Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, Ibrahima Konaté, Van Dijk, Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis Mac Allister. Dominic Soboslai, Salah, Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz have all racked up over 2,000 minutes in all competitions. For some, the toll is beginning to tell. Robertson requires more rotations than in previous seasons, while Gravenberch's tank has seemed empty at times in recent weeks. Moreover, injuries and occasional absences have exposed shortcomings in the squad. Liverpool needed a squad top-up. Trent has suffered the odd muscle injury. His deputy Conor Bradley has had his own issues, while Konaté's knee injury warped the Reds' fine defensive record. Joe Gomez, himself injured, and Jarell Quansah don't appear up to the standard required these days. And up top, it's no secret that Liverpool could use a better alternative to Darwin Núñez and a more reliable one than Diogo Jota. Despite these issues, Hughes wasn't minded to pull the trigger in January. With Liverpool now 11 points clear at the top of the table, it shouldn't have too much bearing on the title race. But one or two injuries and suspensions could see that advantage over Arsenal reduced once again. On Saturday, Aston Villa beat Chelsea 2-1 with 2 goals from winter signing Marco Asensio. He was assisted by another in Marcus Rashford. Manchester City opted to open the chequebook, signing Liverpool targets Nico Gonzalez and Omar Marmoush, as well as a couple of young centre-backs. Man Utd were active in signing Aidan Heaven and Patrick Dorgu. Mathys Tel moved to Spurs on loan, Lloyd Kelly went to Juventus, and even Evan Ferguson made a temporary switch to West Ham. Strength in depth not there. We are not suggesting that these exact players would have been the ones to come to Anfield, although Gonzalez, Marmoush, Dorgu and Kelly have certainly been looked at. But the burden could certainly have been eased on Slot's key 11 if the right signings were made. That hasn't happened in the case of Chiesa. There are some glaring issues in the Liverpool squad that will sooner or later need to be addressed. And there's a long way to go, not only in the league but also in the Champions League and the Carabao Cup. As it stands, Slot cannot afford to rotate too much, if at all, as adverse results against PSV and Plymouth proved recently. Let's hope the decision not to reinvigorate the squad in January doesn't come back to haunt Richard Hughes. Left-back tip to replace Andy Robertson opens up on failed medical. Liverpool will soon require a new left-back, with Andy Robertson about to turn 31 and beginning to show signs of wear and tear. The Reds have probably been linked with more left-backs this season than players in any other position. Rayan Aït-Nouri and Milos Kerkez are among the Premier League options discussed for an Anfield move, with others, such as Alvaro Carreras and Miguel Gutierrez, have been linked from further afield. But one candidate might well be head and shoulders above the others right now. Anthony Robinson is no stranger to Merseyside, having played for Everton's youth and academy sides. The United States international has made his name as one of the top flight's best left-backs over the past few seasons with Fulham. The 27-year-old impressed on his visit to Anfield in December and has even won the endorsement of Mohamed Salah. He has got an incredible 10 assists in the Premier League this season, and it's no surprise he's been associated with a move to Liverpool. Under contract with Fulham until 2028, Robinson joined the London club back in summer 2020 from Wigan Athletic. However, while he was still at the Latics, he was identified for a surprise move to AC Milan. That was in January 2020, but a dream move to San Siro broke down due to the medical uncovering a heart issue. On a recent episode of Fozcast, the Ben Foster podcast, Robinson revealed the cause of his move to Milan being called off. Robinson's failed Milan medical. There was a spell. I think every single time we were on TV, the interviewer was like, "Yeah, failed a medical at Milan," he told the former England goalkeeper. "I just had like an abnormality in my heart, basically. I was having these things called ectopic heartbeats, which are inefficient heartbeats, and I was having too many of them, too often. The cardiologist I had at the time, he said anywhere from 3 to 5% or something like that was normal, and I was 15%. So something that might not show up on an ECG if you do your medical at a team in England, but then you go over to Italy, they're really stringent on heart stuff. They had a couple players in the league die from cardiac arrest or whatever, so they're very strict on heart." Robinson hasn't looked back since. "I've had a friend who played for the US with me, had a similar thing with a medical over there. He called me up. It was literally the exact same thing as me, which, you know, it was nice for me to be able to tell him, 'You'll be fine, it's just timing, don't worry about it.' But it is scary thinking that if I didn't have that medical, I would have just carried on my lifestyle how it was, and I was approaching heart failure essentially.